I once had a subordinate reporting to me who was a learning for me when it comes to the concept of understanding others. I personally feel this is one of the things in which good leaders automatically do very well. Naturally, they do very well. In this particular instance, there was a person who had joined my team, and when I took him in, the feedback that he had come with was that the person is extremely egoistic. He is difficult to work with. He does not follow instructions, and on top of it, he thinks that he knows everything. So, um, a difficult seems like a difficult thing, and this person was, as usual, we have the classical bell curve, and on the bell curve he was on the lower side of the thing. He was placed here and therefore recommended for a improvement plan. Now if he was unable to cope up, he would be told to go. So at this juncture, I had a requirement in my team and I took him in. Now here comes a very big challenge to me, was that here is a person who has got this kind of a report for the last 2 years, and he's there with me, and obviously I'm sure that he would also be extremely skeptical. No increments for 2 years, managers don't have a good view about him, everyone tries to shunt him, etc. As we had seen in understanding self, which we have done developing yourself before, there are these 4 things about every individual: the experiences. The experiences go and form the beliefs of an individual, and these beliefs then go and form the thoughts, the thinking of the individual, and that then translates into action. And we said that the classical iceberg model is here. What we only see is the action, so therefore the rest of the thinking process is not known. It's difficult to know self, so knowing others or understanding others is that much more difficult. So given this background, when I started working with the individual, I realized that of course there were some issues and difficulties in working with the person, but then he was an extremely systematic person. I realized that his core capability was not in interacting with others, but in working alone. A very conceptual kind of a person, and because of this nature of work and his working alone, he got very quickly into whenever in groups he was unable to convince. He was not able to convince groups. In a one-to-one he would discuss, debate, but he will be poor in convincing groups. So over time I worked with him, and he came out of the performance improvement plan, and he was in the average segment. And I think that had he stayed on longer, he would have done better if the person with whom he was working was willing to give the time required to improve. Very often in corporate, due to the paucity of time, we quickly tend to judge, and good, bad, whatever way, and then take some and form some opinions. This comes in the way of understanding others. The moment you have opinionated individual, a person who quickly forms opinions and all, you will not be able to ever understand the other individual, because remember, as much as you try, the individual will never share everything with you. You will only know the outer part of his behavior, so it's not your responsibility to do everything for the individual. In the process, what really happens is that when managers are unable to break this barrier, they come to the concept of do it my way. And when someone does not do it my way, the individual becomes a poor performer, which then gives rise to the negative spiral and the downward trend, and then the work doesn't happen and the individual doesn't uh, uh, it gets into the negative spiral, and things won't then come up to that level anymore. What is very important, therefore, is that if you want to understand others as a team leader or as a manager, you will have to understand others and work with others. So the first thing in this is that do not be judgmental. That's the first part of it. And the second part of understanding others is, which is very important, is believe in others. Now, once you believe in others and once you're not judgmental, once you start looking for what is this guy good at, spend time as much as is possible, discuss with the individual, talk with the individual. Of course, within the domain of work, not outside the domain of work. And when you are sincere in your efforts, everyone will again start seeing, and you start understanding others better. You put them up for success. You give them the work which they like to do, or they work with you very closely. And that is the crux of understanding others. You can never try to influence, I always say that never try to influence the beliefs, because for others you will never be able to do that. But what you should do is that at least be able to perform work to a level where everyone is talking the right thing and the work environment is not disruptive. Just do it till that level, you would have been good in understanding others.